More than 4.2 billion people live in the Asia-Pacific region, constituting 60% of the world's population. The countries within this region have high vulnerability to many types of natural disasters, including floods, cyclones, earthquakes, and tsunamis. During the past decade, more than 200 million people in this region were affected by these disasters. That represents 90% of the world's total disasters. With increasing population growth, people are occupying high-risk areas in greater numbers than ever before. This is causing an even higher need for an organized assistance during a natural disaster.
There are typically thousands of people who show up in a disaster site. Many of them have problems communicating. It's for lots of reasons, technical reasons and simply human factors reasons. And the fact that the military can help coordinate some activities and help supply some resources and some training and so forth is really valuable.
Pacific Endeavor is an annual multinational communications interoperability workshop supported by U.S. Pacific Command. It brings together more than 20 nations to help solve complex interoperability issues from radios to satellite communications to data following humanitarian assistance and disaster relief operation.
So when people hit the ground from different nations, they know what to do, who to contact, how to operate with communications, installing communications, so that other relief agencies and other organizations can come in and do their jobs and not have to worry about communicating and getting messages back to where they have to go, so that they can get the right supplies, people, and stuff in the right areas to provide the most relief for the people that are in need at the time.
It consists of 3 planning workshops and a capstone event, which take place in different locations throughout Asia. This year's capstone was hosted by the Royal Thai Armed Forces in Thailand. It was a 2-week event that consisted of various senior leader engagements and 4 sub-workshops: Radio Endeavor, Cyber Endeavor, Phoenix Endeavor, and Information Knowledge Management Endeavor. All of the Endeavor workshops are fully collaborative events that link military and industry participants to develop fundamentals during an HADR event. Radio Endeavor brought participants together to familiarize themselves on radio best use practices and principles. Cyber Endeavor addresses approaches and best practices as it applies to information assurance, computer network defense during an HADR event.
Cybersecurity is not a single national responsibility. That, in fact, in order to do it effectively, it has to be a cooperative endeavor that regionally the Asia-Pacific region needs to consider carefully how they can facilitate better cooperation on management and mitigation of cyber threats and incidents.
Phoenix Endeavor focused on developing core competencies and spectrum fundamentals. The participants gained knowledge on using the Mercury Spectrum Collaboration application.
That's used to help the spectrum managers from different nations to collaborate with one another and to request and assign frequencies so that it alleviate this problem when they get to a nation that's in need.
Information Knowledge Management Endeavor familiarized participants with integrating people, processes, and tools.
Getting those things to work in harmony with one another is not always an easy feat, but it's the goal of a knowledge manager.
A key component of Pacific Endeavor 2013 was the Senior Communicators Meeting. Flag and general officers from across the different nations received briefings on the objectives that were accomplished throughout the workshops.
They are, in many cases, direct representatives of their ministries of defense within their own nations. And so they get feedback from their nations and in turn provide that feedback into our program, and then we're able to collectively move forward to help solve some of these complex issues.
We need to continue to get a high level of representation and interest from all the countries around the region, because it's the relationships amongst the senior officers, in my view, that continue to drive this activity forward.
In addition to these workshops, countries performed operational assessments of their equipment. The Joint Interoperability Test Command documented everything that transpired.
We assess it, we baseline it to make sure it's all interoperable. And if it's not, we like to find out why. And we assist the countries to find out why it's not interoperable.
During these operational assessments, a scenario was developed to help put the participants in the right frame of mind. The scenario was based on an actual earthquake which occurred in Padang, Sumatra, Indonesia in 2009. Lessons learned from this event, as well as other recent disasters, were incorporated into the scenario. For PE-13, the location of the disaster was referred to as Pacifica.
And the more we can put them into the mindset that they're dealing with reality, the better the training is.
A group of experts from many different fields were brought in to draw from their experiences and to challenge the participants in all aspects of an HADR event.
It's the challenges that cause them to actually learn, to use their heads, to use their training, and to solve problems.
Before any of the testing and communicating can be successful, some large hurdles must be overcome. Everyone here recognizes the problem with language barriers and cultural differences. Pacific Endeavor sets out to solve these nuances.
Breaking down some of those cultural boundaries enables us to move that much quicker and more efficiently when we meet on ground in response to a disaster relief operation.
We all know that it's easier to pick up the phone and call somebody that we're comfortable with, that we already know. And so there's nothing better than building those relationships to make our interoperability at the personal level, the human level, that much more successful.
You meet fellow J6, fellow communicators, and you are able to participate in the solutions of our world problems.
And it just means that when we work together in dealing with these events, it's successful if we work together and we know each other.
It is equally important to build relationships with not only the militaries of the participating nations, but with the non-governmental organizations, academia, and industry.
This gives us an opportunity to experience how militaries communicate with telecommunications in a way we would rarely experience in the field.
It's great to be able to come to these events and work with the people who are actually going to be those people that you work with in the real world. So sort of that, meet a friend before you need a friend thing.
At the very least, they bring a different viewpoint, and we can all do with seeing things from different viewpoints. There's no doubt about that. There's something to be learned.
Some of the important lessons came from the World Food Program. They brought out significant communications capabilities, showcasing systems typically deployed in support of the Emergency Telecommunications Cluster. The ETC provides vital IT and telecom services to help humanitarian workers carry out operations efficiently and effectively. Introducing those services to participating military nations during PE-13 provided valuable insight and understanding.
An international force of any kind probably can learn from the humanitarian community, as we often have presence on the ground for long before the emergency, and we are also there often to continue to work in the country and in the region long after the military is gone.
It is important to continue to solve the complex issues that natural disasters create. Each year is an opportunity to ready the skills and communication tools that will ensure a successful HADR event.
When we don't invest on the front end, we can't complain during a crisis that we're not successful.